Some Pokemon games decide to distribute TMs in a really strange way that makes some of them really overpowered and some of them almost unusable. In this video, I'm going to be discussing the most bizarre TM distributions in the Pokemon franchise. Also, if you enjoy the video, make sure to like and subscribe. The first TM I want to talk about is Earthquake in Pokemon Platinum. This is famously one of the best moves in the game, with its 100 base power, 100% accuracy, and very useful ground typing, being super effective to 5 different types. Earthquake is usually a late game move, but in Platinum you can get it just after the second gym. This wasn't the case in Diamond and Pearl, since in those games, you needed strength to get here. But in Platinum, the strength boulders are gone. This means you can get Gible a lot earlier, which is nice, but a byproduct of that is that Earthquake is the 10th TM you can get. There's 92 TMs in the game, so you'd expect the 10th one to be something weaker, like Silverwind. I think a really simple solution to this would be to keep the strength boulders from Diamond and Pearl, but move them to the final room where Earthquake is. So you can still get Gible early on, but you have to remember to come back after the 6th gym to get the TM. Staying in Sinnoh, but moving over to the Generation 8 remakes, you can very cheaply buy some of the best TMs in the game at the Veilstone department store, like Flamethrower, Ice Beam, Thunderbolt, Psychic, and Dazzling Gleam. They each cost $3,000, which is crazy to me, because the first and only time I played these games, I was able to buy like 9 copies of these moves as soon as I got here, which by the way is before you get your 3rd gym badge. This makes a really easy mid-game even easier, and means any special attacker will have a few of their final moves really early on. This ruins some of the fun for me, because one of my favourite things about Pokemon is how you slowly improve your team throughout the game. But here you basically just get given a bunch of really strong moves when you're, like 20% of the way through? In Generation 4, most of these moves are still in Veilstone City, but they're bought with coins from the game corner, so you either need to invest a few hours into the slot machines to buy them, or continue playing the game until you get more money and come back to buy them later. Flamethrower, for example, costs 10,000 coins, which is $200,000, and I think a way to fix the issue in the remakes would just be to keep that $200,000 price tag. It works really well in the originals by making these TMs feel special and like something you have to work really hard to get, rather than something that costs the same as 10 potions. My next point applies to the Sinnoh games as well as Ruby, Sapphire and Emerald, and the problem here is that you get Water Pulse, a 60 base power move, after you get Surf, a 90 base power move. I honestly don't think I've ever used the Water Pulse TM in either of these games, since by the time you get it, you already have a much stronger special water attack. The Sinnoh games are the worst offender here, since while Water Pulse is actually in an early game area, you need to return here after getting Surf to get the TM. Why would I go out of my way to backtrack for a weaker move than the one I just got? Also, most people probably forgot about the water here by the time they got Surf. I can kind of understand why it's so late into the Hoenn games, since the final gym is a water type one and there's only 2 water type TMs for this gym to give out. I think the final gym leader giving you the TM for Brain Dance would be a bit anticlimactic, so I suppose Water Pulse is the lesser of 2 evils, but by this point your water types will know Surf already and anyone who's not water type will probably just have much better attacks. In Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, Water Pulse isn't a TM anymore, so Wallace gives you the HM for Waterfall instead, which makes a lot more sense than it being in some random cave. I think it should have also been like this in the originals, with the Water Pulse TM being relocated into the hot springs in Lavaridge Town. In Sinnoh, I think the way to fix this is to keep Water Pulse in the Ravaged Path, but put it behind the Rock Smash boulders instead, so you get it as a reward for beating the first gym. Staying in Zootopolis City, in all of the Hoenn games, this is where you get Brick Break, and even if you come here as soon as you get Dive, you won't be able to get the TM until after you progress the story to fighting Kyogre, Groudon or Rayquaza. Brick Break only has 75 power, so it's not an amazing move, and getting it well after the likes of more powerful moves like Surf and Thunderbolt just feels a bit out of place. It's actually a really early TM in a few other games, being after the second gym in Kanto and Sinnoh, and on the first island in Alola. I think a much better location for this TM would be just after Meteor Falls, because it's an optional area, so it rewards you for exploring, and there's a few fighting type trainers here too. The final games I want to talk about are Heart Gold and Soul Silver, and these are the worst offenders in the whole franchise by far. There are so many TMs, too many to name, that are locked behind the postgame. I know that the Heart Gold and Soul Silver postgame is a pretty good one that most players decide to do, but it sucks having to beat the first 8 gyms, Elite Four and Champion with pretty lacking movesets. I think some of the Pokemon that suffer the most here are Starmie and Xatu. Starmie can pretty much solo the Elite Four in Fire Red and Leaf Green, since it can learn Surf, Psychic, Thunderbolt and Ice Beam. But in Johto, the only one of these 4 you'll be going into the Elite Four with is Surf. You can technically pick up Ice Beam and Thunderbolt if you want to do Voltorb Flip for 10 hours, but most people will probably just buy the inaccurate Blizzard and Thunder instead. Xatu suffers worse here since it doesn't actually get a single Psychic type attack by level up until level 59 where it learns Psychic, but by that point you probably will have beaten all 16 gyms. With the Psychic TM locked behind the post game, Xatu will be stuck using just Nightshade and Fly for the vast majority of the game. This is part of a larger issue with some Pokemon having terrible level up movesets, but if you decide to use a Xatu in any other game, you can patch that moveset up really easily with a few TMs. So you have to beat the Elite Four to get Rock Slide, Overheat and X-Scissor, but surely some weaker TMs are available earlier on? Nope. 60 base power moves like Shockwave, Water Pulse and Silver Wind can only be found after beating the champion and going to Kanto. I understand that they wanted the Kanto gym leaders to give out TMs, but this just feels like a really poor way to do it. I don't think many people will be using the Shockwave TM in this game, considering their Pokemon will probably be at least level 50 before getting it. I think one part of the solution here is to make the Kanto gym leaders give out other items like rare candies or PP ups instead. That way these TMs can be distributed around Johto so they're available earlier in the game. And maybe just make a handful of the high base power TMs like Stone Edge hidden around Kanto. One thing this game does somewhat well is the Goldenrod Lottery. Every day you have a chance to win a different TM, including some decent ones like Dragon Claw and Flash Cannon, but also some disappointing ones like Charge Beam, Drain Punch and Shadow Claw, which you can just pick up after 1 or 2 more gem badges. If we look at TMs available to the player, which are 1. Easily obtainable before the Elite Four, 2. Have let's say 85% accuracy or more, 3. Have over 60 base power, and 4. Don't come with a gimmick like Focus Punch, Solar Beam and U-Turn, that literally only leaves us with 13 TMs, 3 of which you can only get after the 8th gym. Also, these moves altogether only cover 8 of the 17 types, and most of the types we do have to choose from, like Normal, Dragon, Poison and Steel, are not particularly useful attacking types. Plus, Dark and Ghost are both super effective to the exact same types, being Psychic and Ghost, so these 13 TMs really don't provide you with that much coverage. I think a really simple solution here would just be to have 7 TMs be daily prizes in the Pokeathlon. You can get about 300 points per game, and the evolution stones cost 2,500 to 3,000 each. I think making TMs cost about 4,000 to 5,000 points would be a great way to add some of the better TMs into the game without giving them out too easily. I also think a few of the post-game TMs could have just been distributed around Johto. For example, Rock Slide could have been in this empty section of Mount Mortar, and Silverwind could have been in Ilex Forest. My last point isn't about a game, but about a certain move. Game Freak seems to have an aversion for giving you the TM for Energy Ball. It was introduced in Generation 4, and in every Gen 4 game you can't get it until after beating the champion. The same is true for Black and White as well as Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. Also, in X and Y as well as the Generation 7 games, it's only obtainable at the very end of the story. From Generation 8 onwards, the way you get TMs changed, so just looking at Gen 4 to 7, the only games where you can get the TM for Energy Ball while you're in the mid-game is Black and White 2, where you can pick it up after the 5th badge. This seems really strange to me considering it's not exactly an overpowered move like Overheat, which is commonly found in the post-game. It's comparable to Shadow Ball, which you can get as early as the 4th gym in the Johto games, and has been available in every game since then. This is probably just a coincidence, but it's strange how this above average move is so hard to come by. These are, to my knowledge, the most bizarre TM distributions in Pokemon games. I haven't played the newer games as much as Generation 3, 4 and 5, so I definitely might have missed a few. If you think of a TM that I didn't talk about that has a weird distribution, feel free to mention it in the comments, and like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and hopefully, I'll see you next time.